Well, we don't have a super heavy agenda today. Let's go ahead and get started, and maybe maybe it ends up being a relatively short meeting, which is not a problem. So the mailing lists are there. I am, between Michelle and myself, we're able, when we need to admit people. I'm not quite sure. I don't understand how this all works yet in terms of why anyone can join announce, but you have to be a moderator, has to approve your joining Dev and TST. I still work on that, but at least now I now have a portal that I can go in and approve. So, and I'll try to stay on top of it. So I think the plan, I just wanted to put this in here mostly just so we don't forget it. The plan is to go ahead and send email to the existing lists and to post to Slack, inviting people to join these 3 mailing lists. Timon, where do we stand with auto responses?
Yeah, so I have not, just so everybody knows, like setting up auto responses in Google is really quite a pain. For each list, there are like 4 places it needs to be set up for different kinds of interactions. And ONF has a ton of lists. So I've been waiting for sort of a solid set of pointers for all of the different communities so that I can do it once and not have to redo it. And so there's still a little bit of a wait, like on the broadband group and other things, they're still getting a website up. So all of that has, that's what I've been waiting for. So,
okay, waiting. So can fix once for all 3 projects, of which Aether is just 1. Okay. So you have what you need for Aether, though, I think, right?
Yeah, I think we're finally there with Aether, which is great.
All right. I mean, I will go ahead and send. Well, I think posting Slack is probably the most important thing because we haven't really been using the mailing lists for Aether anyway. So I think the real struggle here is going to get people to use mailing lists in the mail groups over Slack, which we're just going to have to work on.
And is that the strategy to convert everybody to Slack?
You mean convert to mailing list?
Yeah, to convert to mailing lists.
Well, so convert's a strong word. I don't think we're necessarily going to delete the Slack channels. I think they have value, but I think it's just community habit of when you have something, where to post it. I mean, that's how my view of it. I don't know that it's helpful to I guess we could go to the Slack channels and, well, we could certainly annotate the Slack channels to recommend people go to the mailing lists. But behavior is a little tricky to legislate.
Do we have Michelle on? I'm curious if, and sorry, I was just distracted for a minute, but if LF provides us, the reason I guess we've in the past thought about migrating away from Slack is because of the lack of a history. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a big reason.
And maybe LF has a, provides Slack with history. That's what I'm wondering.
So, sorry, I can't speak on behalf of LF, but I've noticed that it looks like there either is an open source license or something, because the Slack channel has full history now. So either somebody paid for it, or there's been an application to get a discount or a free license under open source governance, which I'm not entirely sure how it works, but yeah, I'm able to see old Slack messages suddenly.
Yeah, so my recollection is that we got grandfathered in with an old ONF workspace. It actually got repurposed at one point slightly, but we kept a hold of the one that we had been grandfathered in. And so we do have history. All right, so post a Slack inviting people to join mailing lists, but we'll likely continue using Slack too. So we're not going to be exclusively. Well, we have history as long as we can make use of the existing workspace, which right now is shared between these three projects. And maybe since it's free, we can continue to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something that we should discuss with Michelle and LF.
Okay. Anyway, for those on the call, which probably you're all the good people behaving properly, go ahead and join these lists. All right, I think Gabriel wanted to discuss the release. I'm not sure we've got everyone on the call that you're going to need, but please proceed.
Sure. Yeah, so basically just gonna provide an update of where we are as of now. All the source code itself is ready for the next release. So out of the many tiny repositories that were kind of like auxiliary repositories, we move into most of them, we move into a larger repository. And these auxiliary repositories that now we are using in the project itself, they are already tagged. Last night I was working with DAF on automate the tagging process and release process for the different network functions. And that's something that is fairly completed. The only thing that we are missing at the moment is that the ONF bot needs to sign the CLI, so we can merge a PR from the that is automatically created as part of this process. If you would like, I can quickly share my screen to show what we have done from the AMF perspective and what is the plan of what we are kind of trying to get into. Just give me 1 second. Let me open this screen. Share this screen. Okay. Yeah, so we started with the AMF repository as a reference point, and based on the presentation that Guilherme made probably a couple weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer, regarding the tagging of the different versions. So what we are doing through GitHub Actions in an automated way is, let me go back here. So it's basically create a release, which is basically this release 130. So this is automatically created through GitHub Actions. That's one thing. The other thing that was related, actually a suggestion by the Canonical team, was about creating this release branch, which is going to have just a major and minor component. So if there is a bug fix that needs to be done, it's going to be work on directly on this branch, but also we're going to keep working on the master branch as a primary thing. The other component of this is the automatic creation. So now we are using the version file as a reference point, in the sense that when there is a change on the version file, basically, if we go here, so the information to create the release and everything related to that, or the branches, is everything around the version file itself. It's something similar that is being done actually in the SD-RAM project, well, in the ONOS project itself. But in the SD core, the version file wasn't being used. So the different images were based on just a commit ID, 7-digit commit ID. As part of the automation process, creating the release tag, creating the branch for when there is a major minor release, this PR that is automatically created to move the version file to the next version. So in our case, let's say we are doing release 130. The PR automatically creates one that is one patch higher and with the dash dev. This is the only thing that we are missing, as I mentioned earlier, because the ONF needs to sign the ONF bot needs to sign the CLA. So as soon as we have this fixed, we are planning to replicate what we did in the AMF in all of the other network functions, and that's basically can be easily completed today. And as Ajay indicated in the Slack channel, I have been working with him all about these different components. So I have been creating several PRs, and he has been helping me kind of like approving those PRs. So then, so probably let me show this here. So this is the list of all of the different repositories that now are being used as part of the SD Core 5G project. As you can see here, most of them are already tagged. What is only missing the tag is the network functions. That's kind of like what's going to be addressed by doing the automation process that we are doing. So we are in 130. Also, the documentation is updated. I need to probably today I'm gonna open a PR for probably Ajay help me reviewing that. And the only thing that is missing for the release is the publication of the Helm charts. I have updated the Helm charts to kind of reflect now the use of the new images. So basically, if we go to Docker Hub. So if we go to the Docker Hub, for example, the AMF is the one we have been working so far. Now the images are gonna have this, unreleased specific name. So it's not gonna, we're not gonna use anymore this master dash commit ID. So they're gonna be pointing from the Helm charts perspectives. They're gonna be pointing to a specific release version, which is more easy to track and know at what point of time those images are being used. Then all these changes I have them ready in the Helm charts. Again, the only thing that I'm missing from the Helm chart perspective is the automation of the publishing these updated Helm charts. In this updated Helm chart, so I was asking Canada whether we can bring the Jenkins job for now to do this automatic auto creation. I do have a GitHub action at the moment to be able to create the Helm charts, the local Helm charts, and based on a similar way that we did for the SD Core docs, we can publish those Helm charts. But I have missing a step in between to only publish what has changed, not basically everything that is in there. So that's kind of the only piece that I'm missing from the GitHub action perspective to be able to use GitHub action for the publication of the Helm charts. And that's what I was asking Daf just to help me at least temporarily bringing back the Jenkins job that publishes the Helm charts to automate that part, and we will be basically done with the release itself.
Good. AJ, I'm sorry, Gabriel, just to make sure I understood that last statement, I was taking a couple of notes here. So I said you still need to complete the GitHub action to auto-publish the Helm chart, but then it sounded like you might still be dependent on the Jenkins job to do that. I wasn't clear which one.
Okay. So as of now, it's supposed to be that the publication of Helm charts was done through Jenkins, right?
Right.
But Jenkins know that the SD Core Helm charts were in Gerrit. So Jenkins doesn't know that the Helm charts are already in GitHub now. So what I was asking Daf is to kind of see whether we can update that Jenkins job to, instead pointing to Gerrit, to point to GitHub to kind of publish these updated Helm charts. But that's kind of like a temporary thing, because my long-term goal would be to have the GitHub action to publish those the Helm charts.
So I just in terms of taking notes, I think maybe there's 2 points here. One is you still need to fix, quote unquote, fix the Jenkins job so that you're publishing in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
But your long-term goal is the GitHub Action to replace that Jenkins job.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, so in general, we are kind of like fairly good. Again, we just need to resolve this Jenkins job, the publication of the Helm charts either in a day or two, whether I can resolve that issue that I'm having in the GitHub action, or whether DAF help me kind of like bring in the Jenkins job, the publication of the Helm charts through the Jenkins job. So either one has to be in place, and then we will be kind of completed with the release of the SD core, at least this release. And overall, the pipeline, the CI/CD pipeline in general is kind of fairly completed and in place for future releases then.
So in terms of in terms of the fix to the Jenkins job to publish the Helm charts, the key is that they're being published in GitHub as opposed to Garrett.
Well, the source for the Helm charts is now in GitHub instead of Garrett, but they are getting published in charts that Aether project that or
the source for it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of the only difference, at least from the Jenkins job perspective, because I don't think anything else has changed.
All right. You might just take it when you're done sharing, you might take a look at my notes to make sure I got this right.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think I'm done sharing, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get it up there. All right. So the big deal, I think, if I enter, and again, I'm want to play this back to that I took away is that you are now consistent with the use of the version file that is used elsewhere in Aether. It's used in the Onos.
Yes, that's one of the primary things. Just basically the version file help us to automate a few things, basically for the publication of the new releases, new branches, new release images as well. Yes.
Got it. Good.
Yeah, because that one has as far as I have seen, it has never been touched because the version file has its default value of 00001-dev.
Right. It never got used.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Wonderful. Any other comments, questions anyone else has?
Actually, I have a question for you, Larry. So as soon as, what will be the process for you to start using on-ramp this latest version? So how do we, because we have made several changes that are gonna break the default on-ramp is gonna be broken itself if you don't have these additional changes.
Well, so I don't think you'll break on-ramp because on-ramp has hardwired. The standard release of on-ramp hardwires the Helm chart version number.
Oh yeah. No. What I'm saying,
what I will do
using these
what I will do.
Helm charts.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good point. So, with respect. On-ramp. Let's see. I think the main thing is that we will. We want to test a candidate, and we will. I'll work with Canal to set up an integration test that uses the latest charts. So I think as long as you guys are willing to come back in and, if there turns out to be some bugs somewhere that you can, these are then fixes to, whatever it is, 0.1.3. Whatever. As a consequence of those integration tests, we should be fine.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, just it might for my different kind of like testing to make sure that everything is being working. I have been using on-ramp lastly and basically running all the tests all the time when I integrate when I merge any PR. Besides of course reviewing the PR itself, but I also run a test with on-ramp, having 6 out of the 7 tests enabled.
So I
Because
think very concretely, what I will do is define a candidate blueprint. That's how I'm kind of thinking about it. It will have its own vars file that will just define the new set of Helm charts, and we just will start running nightly integration tests against it.
okay.
And we could do that today.
But
I will
the
try to get
charts
that
are
done
not published yet.
ASAP.
But the latest charts are not published yet.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll get it set up to do that, and then we'll start testing it as soon as the changes are made.
Okay.
But from a transitional point of view, I think it should be just fine. It's not like things are going to break overnight.
Yeah, and also something that I was kind of discussing with Agile last week is that are we planning to do some kind of release notes or some type of no, kind of telling the public that there is a new release?
Yeah,
or
we should plan. I don't know exactly how to do this. Timon, maybe this would be a good general discussion here. How do we announce this? Timon there?
Well, obviously an email to the announce mailing list. Might also consider a post to Slack general.
Yeah, also Slack, yeah. Or to Slack, we tell you there's a really important announcement on the announce mailing list. You need to go read it. You need to go join it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
no, that's a good incentive, right?
Well, so the SD core docs include some kind of release notes, right?
That's correct. That is
Okay,
that's
good.
the PR that I need to open. So yeah, I have the notes already. So at the PR I need to open it probably later today or tomorrow on that. But the thing I didn't want to open the PR for the docs yet because I want to make sure that we have completed the whole tagging of the functions, because in the release docs on the release notes we are pointing to what a tag to use for each of the images. So yeah.
I'm also going to use this as an opportunity, and for on-ramp, the number was borrowed from the rock version, Helm chart version number, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to declare this the official 2.2.0 of Aether on-ramp, just because it's a major milestone. But that's more of a marketing version than anything else.
Yeah, but that would be minor version based on what you are showing there, right?
Well, no, we've been for the last 6 months. It's been 2.2.0 dev. So now this is the official 2.2.0.
Yeah, but that would be means a minor release, right?
No, it had been 2.1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but that means minor
It
release.
is minor. It's not, but it's not. I was confusing the third digit with minor.
Yeah, no, that's a minor release.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I think from that perspective we will be good. Again, I just need Dav's help with the making the ONF bot to sign the CLA. And as soon as we have that ready, I can start opening PRs for all the different network functions. And after that tagging is completed, I can finalize the docs with the SD core docs with the specific tags that were created for the different components. And yeah, and as I mentioned, the only thing that is missing is the publication of the Helm charts.
Good. Nice. This is going to be a really nice step. All right. We don't have anyone on the SD-RAN, so no news there, I'm guessing. Kind of looks like Timon was interrupted by something and had to drop off.
Yeah, would
So the
John send
last
a message?
item, I'm sorry?
Sorry, Larry. Would John send a message earlier saying that he had a conflict, so he cannot join?
Yeah. I'll just leave it on there. We didn't. So the final point is sort of a combination of it's what QA has been working on now. The QA status slash and the UE ransom blueprint. So Kunal?
Yeah, Larry. So for changes for the UE ransom integration, we have done changes in Ether UE ransom repo, which will reflect in the depths of Ether on ramp. But the changes in Ether on ramp repo is in progress. So we are going to do I mean the changes are not that big, so mostly we should have in next few days we will have a new PR where we will add the changes on Ether on ramp and um, commit them into the repo.
Yep, good. Yeah, that's all. That should be relatively minor. I added a third bullet, just for the record, which is, I know there is a nightly integration test, but I just want to make sure it doesn't have any backdoors, that it installs the UE ransom blueprint as anyone would and doesn't take advantage of any insider knowledge.
Yeah, sure. I'll update the nightly job as well so that it will only have our make targets and would not have any backdoors there.
Right. And one last question that I have, just, I know that originally we were talking that you would run this, the emulated Gnode B and user on a separate server from the core, but I'm wondering if it also works with them running on the same server.
For the different for two server configuration, we are pretty confident that we can run it, and we have also done a POC on that. Um, on the same server, I have faced a few issues on the networking side. So basically the data does not work when we run it on the same server. So I think for that it would need some more efforts there. So
Okay, so as long as it runs, as long as we document that it runs in the two server case, that's fine.
sure.
So UERunSim, okay, so UERunSim runs containerized on the second server, let's say, and the SD core in the first server, or UERunSim runs in the first server as like in the host system?
So in one server configuration, we are running it a non-containerized version.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, right now the focus is to get a UE ransom blueprint where um, the where it is not containerized, because on containerized one we were facing a few issues on bringing up the interface. So that's where I mean mostly the new blueprint would be.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything from this point, and unless someone wants to go back and debug the container, will be non-containerized, and it's just a matter of the way that he's gotten it working is with the second server running the UE ransom and the core on the other server. Okay.
But sorry, Larry, I have one question that I got a little bit lost. So when you have the single server, basically you have the SD core plus UE ransom running on the host machine, right? So
Yeah,
non-containerized.
that would be the single server version, yeah.
Exactly. Now, when you're having two servers, UE ransom is still running on the host or running on a containerized environment?
UE ransom is still just running on the host, on the server.
Yes. Just a,
then
it's just
what is the
running on a
difference of
different.
having single? Sorry, what is the difference of having single server and dual server? So if in both cases runs kind of like in a similar, UE ransom runs in the host machine, so makes no difference.
You wouldn't think, but he's had some problems, and I just didn't want to get bogged behind that and let it treat that as an add-on. So what was the problem, Kanal?
So the data routes were kind of getting into a loop. So the data packets were just going through the you can say towards the host and then come back to the UE ransom itself. So it was not traveling towards UPF.
That's in the two server system?
No, it's in the
One
single
server.
server.
Oh, in the single server.
Yeah, two server configuration works perfectly fine.
Okay. Larry, just one question, probably I'm not sure. So the idea, at least from switching to a little, what the G0B would be. So have you considered either running UE ransom or G0B SIM as part of the same Kubernetes cluster, or basically the design itself is to run the G0B, whatever it is, either UE ransom or G0B SIM, to run in a separate environment like a Docker itself or in the host machine and not part of the SD core network?
So it's not strictly forbidden. If someone wanted to do that configuration, I'm sure you could get it to work. The strategy with OnRamp had been to keep the workload of the core distinct and separate environment from the core itself. And there's arguments for that. If someone wanted to put together a blueprint that combined everything all in one Kubernetes cluster, I mean, it certainly could be done. Part of it was to minimize the number of network configurations that were required too. That was kind of one, is to put clean workload on the core for performance measurement purposes, and the second was to minimize the number of network configs you needed.
Okay. Yeah, and no, actually, I like the configuration that is right now because it's easier just to start collecting packets, either at the G0B SIM or at so you don't have to go inside the Kubernetes cluster to start collecting the packets themselves. So makes things simpler, at least from the debugging perspective. But my question was more from the perspective where I have two machines that are sharing the same network and I want to deploy OnRamp in both machines, like independent deployments. Like the issue that I was having probably a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so we're going to have to dig deeper on that one. There is an issue, which this is sort of independent of the UE ransom per se,
right?
Which is when the way that OnRamp sets up the network. If you run two separate cores, it can get confused. So you have to totally isolate them. We should revisit that, and Bala would be someone that we would need. Let me just make note of this. We need Bala in that discussion.
Okay.
So the limitation is that of OnRamp is that running two cores simultaneously, spelled appropriately.
Not necessarily. Probably the best word would be 2 on ramps instead of 2 cores.
Well, no, it is the, well, yeah,
Because in my case, I had 2 machines that are connected to each other, but I want to run on ramp in a single machine, and then also a different kind of configuration of on ramp in the other machine. But the way how,
but the problem is that you end up with 2 cores.
yeah,
That
but also
are
the
both
GNOD itself.
advertising routes that
Yep.
causes any GNOD B to get confused as to, it's an ARP,
Mhm.
the problem boils down to ARP getting confused. So it's not the core's fault per se, it's how the networking is set up for the core.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was asking my previous question about the whether you know, having the GNOD B, either GNOD B SIM or URN SIM running a containerized environment, because you know the way how the core network and the GNOD B is attached is through the physical interface, right?
Right. I think so. I think this can be worked around, but it will. Again, I can't remember the specifics, but we should have Bala on a conversation. We can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
2 cores. I'll just say get confused. It just isn't. And it's kind of a luck of the draw on how ARP works. Okay, make note of that and we'll come back to that one, maybe put it on next week's agenda.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Anything else? All right, thanks, everybody. See you all next week.
Okay, thank you.